Hey guys, Andy here again with another of my very own apps you can see there, done by AA UK, Android Andy UK. This one is called Ride Out Buddy. I'm just going to open up the app description and it gives you some information in there, but obviously I'm going to show you in the video what it can actually do. It's a paid app, so it's the first app that I've actually thought, you know what, I'm going to leave it as a paid option. I believe it's that, well, not that it's that good, that it could be that useful, hopefully, to people. So we start off with the current groups. There's very few of them, just my test group that I've been dipping in and out of. You can see when it was last used. When there are more, if anyone ever uses the app, you can change how they're ordered just by tapping down the bottom there. Obviously it's going to make no difference with just one group. To make a new group, we've got the floating action button in the corner. You just give it a group name, set a password, tap create group. There's some instructions there that groups get automatically deleted after 4 days of not being used. Likewise, chat messages get removed automatically after 3 days. So even if you've got a group that you're using all the time, chat messages will be removed after 3 days, after they're 3 days old. So if someone says something important or funny or whatever, do a screenshot. We're not going to create a group though at this point. I'm going to quickly show you in the settings as well. So there are a few settings. There's a GPS frequency check. High, medium or low, depending sort of how accurate you want things to be. I'll show you kind of the trip recording and where it could make a difference. Map view type, you do get the options of all the different Google Map types. We're going to stick to normal, lower bandwidth, and geofence around home. So we'll stick with small. And as you can see there, you set your home location by holding down on the map, and you'll see the grey. We'll see it in a minute. There is a link to my ride out guide. I've done a YouTube video many years ago that's been quite popular. You could get your friends to watch that if they come on ride it with you, just to sort of understand some of the things to bear in mind. And you can also send feedback via email. I'll just bring up an email selector there if you wanted to. You know, if you want to let me know ideas, suggestions, problems. So we're going to go into my test group. Now it's going to default to thinking I'm somewhere over the ocean somewhere until it gets a GPS lock. But you can see there are some folk that are on the app. I'm not going to zoom in on them and give away their location. Although that one there, that's my emulator, which I'm hopefully going to use to show you some kind of how it works. Now I don't know if it's no, so it still thinks I shouldn't bother pressing that. Because I'm indoors, it's not got a GPS lock, obviously. Although I think it might at some point. So you can see there, I live in Barnet, you can see there the grey circle, that's my geofenced home. So when I'm in that location, me as a rider, like we saw there, would not show up to anybody else. So even, you know, if you forget to leave the group, or you know, you're just riding home and you peel off and ride home, no one will see as soon as you get inside that grey circle. That's set to small. You can have them up to like a kilometre in radius, basically, if you were really, I don't know if I'll say paranoid, but if you just wanted to be sure that no one could see where you lived. Now, so while we're on that view, I'm using the emulator. I'm going to move Android Andy into view. I'm going to click 3, 2, 1 now. Let's see, there you go, that was pretty quick. So there's Android Andy has appeared. I'm going to try changing some of the numbers in the emulator. I have no idea. Oopsie, I can't see my keyboard. And again, 3, 2, 1, click. Now, that's a good point. I don't know what setting he's on for accuracy. If it's the default, it's sort of 20 seconds. So if we try and move again within 20 seconds, it won't necessarily, or actually, having said that, it could be I just didn't change the number to a big enough number, because there's also, let's try that. There's also a kind of minimum amount of movement is required. So, but I don't want to move too far. I'll go flying off the screen and I won't know where I've gone. At the same time, it might be this is a failed demo and it's just not moving. There we go, it's just updated. So in fact, it could even be that I'm set on the long or inaccurate setting. So we've seen it move. I'm going to try and move it again. Let's see what happens. But obviously the idea being, when you're in a group, yeah, I think it must be on the at least sort of Oh, right, hang on. Someone to, oh, Jesus. Sorry, Pete. I'll go back to you. Oh, wow, okay, I moved it. That's the problem with doing it via GPS coordinates. You can't quite be sure where you're going to end up. So when you see Android Andy, you see that status is normal. We'll come to that in a second. The last update was at, mind you, I've not changed the time zone on the emulator, so it says 12 minutes past 6. It means I have to set the time on the emulator. That would make more sense. So you can see when their last update was. Now, if I wanted to just rotate through the different people, so now we're looking at Rustic Overlay. Now, you might think it's that one. I'm not really sure a way around this. There's Rusty at the top. Look, what it used to do initially, when you tap next, it was zoom to that person. So it zooms to show me Android Andy, but it bases on where I am to where they are, if that makes sense. Because what I realised, if you zoom right in on somebody, that might not, especially if you're off down some country lane, that might not make much sense to you. I mean, okay, you can zoom back out and then find you, but I basically wanted it to keep you in the map and them in the map. But unfortunately, because the map actually goes right to the top and I've put a load of buttons over the top, I mean, I could change the map view to literally just that bit in the middle, I guess. There's mine in Hitchin. And I'm still hidden from the map view in my little grey safe zone. So that's kind of the basics of, you know, the theory being, if you're going out for a ride out with a whole bunch of people, you might not know all of them all that well, and asking them to share your location might be a bit awkward, but maybe they don't mind doing it within just the app, because it is just within the app. They know when they come out of the app and leave the group, everything's fine. There is also a chat group. So again, you don't need everybody's phone number to have to message people and say what's going on. Obviously, at this point, it's just me joining and leaving as I'm testing things. But on a ride out, you'd be putting certain messages in, and it all goes through the cloud. So there we go, test message, and it gives you the timestamp and all that kind of thing, and that will appear on everybody's phone. There's no notifications for messages. I decided not to do that, but if you stop because you lost somebody, you can just drop a message in, and because it's not like you're going to be using it while you're riding. Now, let's just show you the emergency. So, should the worst happen, you tap emergency and it says select your emergency. Toilet break. So it kind of starts at like fairly trivial all the way down to major crash, which hopefully you'd never have to use. I did toy with the idea trying to put crash detection in, like when the phone gets jolted or something like that. Maybe in a future release, maybe. So let's just say you're lost. You tap on lost, or you might have heard. I don't know if you can hear things vibrating all over the place, because you do get notifications for, where is it? Ride out emergency, and I think I'm lost. So everyone, even myself, actually, maybe I should try and remove that. Everyone gets a notification. Everyone's phone buzzes or beeps or whatever. And in the chat room, look, there's a message there. Now, if that then gets resolved, we can clear emergencies, and it says, do you want to remove all emergencies or just your own? Well, just mine at this point, really. Emergencies found and removed, and now the chat message is gone. My notification actually still needs clearing, so people still know, but they'll be able to say, oh, it's gone, he's not in. Oh, I should have shown status. My status would have shown lost rather than normal. So that's one part of it. And the final bit, which is kind of almost, I think, perhaps an app in itself, is the trip recorder. So you would press record. Let me show you the trip I've already recorded. This is just my commute to work. I went 2 different routes just to test it out. This is set to the medium accuracy, so it polls every sort of 20 seconds or so. And it starts off grey lines, if you kind of, I think it was less than 20 miles an hour. Then it goes to a kind of a grey-green line, like that one, if it's sort of 20 to 30. That colour line, quite green, that's going to be sort of 30 to 40 miles an hour. When you get up to 50s, 60s and 70s, it starts going a bit orange and goes to red when you go above 70, because naughty, obviously you shouldn't go above 70. When you turn up the accuracy, you'd have more points being plotted, so you'd follow the road a bit better. But obviously that's going to use your battery a bit more. I don't think it uses the battery a huge amount, but because it runs as a service in the background, you can start recording and come out of the app. It should keep going. It's set up as a service. You can also edit the trip. So if something does, if your GPS is a bit zany and it leaps about a bit now and then, you can go in and you can hold down on one of them and it says, do you want to delete that waypoint? And it would just remove. So you've had a zany one that showed, because I have had it happen, although I think I've probably fixed the bug. It would sometimes shows like 200 miles an hour because it would plot a point way out at a distance, chunk, and then bounce back again. So you could delete that one point that was out in the distance. And then finally, you can export the trip, database exported, or you can import. So if I was to, let's come back out, let's clear trip, clear, view trip, no trip to view. Now I'm going to import the trip, boom. And there it is. So I quite like that. I think that's quite... Oh, look, see, it's done it. Has it done it? Yes, it's done it to me there. Because I'm indoors, it won't help. It thinks I'm way up where I'm not. I think I've covered everything. So that's my app. I think it could be quite handy for those on rideouts. Obviously, it is only Android only because I don't know how to write apps for iOS, which will put a bit of a crimper on some of your rideouts with people that use iOS. I can't really help that, unfortunately. But if they just stick close to somebody with Android, they're all sorted. So there we go. It's $1.99 in the Play Store. I'd really appreciate if anyone's got any sort of rewards money knocking around, go ahead and buy my app, please. A lot of time and effort has gone into it. If you have comments, ideas, you can drop them in the bottom of this video underneath in the comments. I'll take a look at them. I am quite new to programming. Bear that in mind if you haven't followed my channel. I haven't done any programming before February. And then I've moved on. I think my first app was in May sometime. And it's now August. So I'm still quite new. But I'll do what I can. If you have some ideas, do let me know. Just let me know what you think of it. I'm quite pleased with it. I'm quite proud of the app. So hopefully you think it could be useful. So let me know. But for now, my name's Andy. I'll catch you all again soon.